Hello, fairy finders and fairy seekers. Welcome to FaerieQuest and another episode of Ask the Fairies. Today we are going to do something a little bit different with the Lenormand cards. We are going to find out what the pulse is on our belief as man, woman, or child in the Fae. Do we still believe? Who believes? And perhaps it'll even share with us why we believe and how we believe, if we still believe. So I'm going to lay out the cards, which have been swished all over the table and shuffled as well. And as always, I will fast forward through this part for you. Okay, so the card that we use for this kind of lost and found is the key card. Okay, it's kind of like the answer to the question, the solution, but this today is going to represent our belief. Okay, and of course we have man, woman, and child. So as we see, we have, oh yes, one other thing, the mice. Now the mice are a very important card in this lost and found kind of reading, because if the mice are close, that means that what you have lost will more than likely be found. If it is far away, then what you're looking for may never be found. So this is kind of an interesting reading. As you can see, we have the man card. In conjunction to the belief card, that's kind of far. That belief card is kind of far. However, the mouse card is right above the man card. So chances are he'll find his belief again. May not have it now, but he'll find his belief again. There are other situations, other issues that the man is dealing with that does not give him the opportunity to allow himself maybe the luxury of believing in fairies. The children are kind of in between the man and the woman here. So we have the man who does not believe at this point, or is, I don't really want to say does not believe, I need to say he, again, does not have the luxury to allow himself to even consider something like this. It would kind of get in the way. So here's the child. Now we have the woman here, okay? And she is directly beneath the belief card, the key. So obviously she's close, she's touching, she believes. And the child is kind of caught in the middle, and the man and the woman are looking at one another. The child is caught in the middle, and they want to believe because mama believes, but they don't want to believe because father doesn't seem to. Now, this is not necessarily meant as a reading to be a family, but in this case, this is what the cards are showing, that the children are kind of stuck in the middle because it's a weighing thing. Even if the child were asking questions of, say, a teacher, and the man teacher that they really like says, No, the fairies, that's just all your imagination, or the fae. The woman teacher is like, well, absolutely, they exist. And so here again, the child is stuck in the middle. Now, what is between, the child card and the belief card? And that is the snake. That snake just kind of shows the tangled mess that possible belief in the fae could create for the child, or at least that's what they think. So if we start over here with the man, he has a lot of blockage here, and here's the mountain. He has a lot of blockage, and a lot of it has to deal with emotion and affairs of the heart, okay? He wants to do the right thing, wants to feel, but there's just something stopping that for him. That's kind of the heart of the matter. And part of the reason for this is that in society, as we know, in society, the man usually has a specific responsibility. I mean, obviously that's changed over the years. Women have a lot of responsibility too now that they're working out of the home. But again, women do have a grasp on emotion. That is not necessarily her driving force in her belief. So anyway, he has a blockage. His emotional abilities are, kind of stuck where the belief is concerned. All this hidden stuff, okay? All this hidden stuff with the book, it's a closed book. He doesn't know a whole lot about fae or fairies, and that in itself can be a burden. That's part of this, is a hidden information card here. So part of the burden, part of his inability to say, hey, I believe, is that he really just doesn't know a whole lot about the fae. And as a man, he's kind of proud and really doesn't want to say, hey, I don't know a lot about the fae. But the mice are eroding away that blockage, slow but sure. So that hidden knowledge, that can't be, the closed book just can't be an excuse for much longer. It is possible, since the scythe is really close to the man, is that he may have heard stories as a young child and feels that perhaps believing in the fae is dangerous to him. That maybe that would give them an opportunity to do something to him that he heard as a kid in those stories. So that makes it quite the burden to anchor in any kind of belief or any kind of specific emotion when it comes to that belief. So he's gonna get there eventually. But right now, it is not as important as other things to him, such as family, which is shown in the lily, or balance and harmony in his life. Or it's not as important as strength to him. So there are things that, mean a great deal to him that are part of his near cards. These are all near cards. These are very near. Everything over there is far. So his very near card is here. And there is quite a distance between the man and the woman here. And again, we're not specifically talking about a family per se. They are looking at one another. So it's almost as though there's a small gap here because there's such a difference in what the two feel what they experience on a daily basis. So let's go over here to the child. And again, the child, is kind of tangled there. So let's see where it's going here. There's a lot of unknowns to the child, okay, about believing in the Fae. And they're really not sure who to ask. But it is in the stars for the child to believe. It is natural for them to believe. Believing in the fairies, okay, will give the child a lot of pleasure and show them how to love even more than they already do. So believing in fairies for them is a good thing. Of course, they've been introduced to fairies through writing and stories being read, and that gives them pleasure also. They look for four-leaf clovers, or at least children used to, and wish for magical things to happen. But again, that's kind of a tangled mess, right? Because that can come back and bite them depending on, who it is that they're talking to. Nowadays, if you're a little too strange, things don't go very well with you socially. At least that's the way things were once, and probably still are to some degree. So the child at this point needs to determine where their heart lies and make a choice. But in essence, this is where they're meant to be. The GPS points to yes, believe, because it is touching right here with that belief card. But there's always a choice. You can choose love for man or woman or other children. You can choose love for many things. But this is the Crossroads card, and it's just saying that, the child will eventually make a choice, and it will probably be an emotional choice. Of course, having, been read the books and maybe reading on their own now, depending on age, they know the magic that is in there, and truly, the children love the magic. They love the magic. Some of them dream of writing, the magic themselves, or making up the stories that go with it. But they have a lot of choices as they grow. That's what the Crossroads is here. And, do they enjoy the pleasures of believing and hope that that does not get them into some kind of tangled mess? Can they trust their stars? So it is interesting how each one shares here. The man, the woman, and the child. Each shares a line, which is fabulous, actually. So then we have the woman here. She's down a little bit further than the man and the child. She has a little more weight. Not much, but a little more weight on her shoulders here. The belief card is right above her head. There is no doubt that she believes. She knows, that believing is part of her destiny. But she is also understanding that, with the snake is toxic, and the tree is all about well-being. So she's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here when it comes to the child, because, if she shares her belief, is it going to be toxic or good for the child? Now, that's going to depend on who you're talking to and whose child you're talking about. For some, it would bring a lot of crazy mental chatter of silliness and oh my goodness, and some will think that it's absolutely wrong to even consider the possibility that the Fae exist. So the woman, again, is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. The snake and the birds are on either side of the key. So it is possible that having the snake on one side, which brings adversity, okay, and the birds on the other, which brings just stress and things like that, a lot of that is around the idea of the Fae, at least for her. That is what's weighing down on her head, that thought. But she would like to share it with children. She feels like that's her destiny. And, you know, she's got her back to the ship, which is all about obviously taking a journey, or it's also about earning extra money. So it is possible that she would like to do something to earn extra money with the Fae, with the belief in her Fae, for the children, for the man, for other women. But it is possible that, you know, people might think that she is being sneaky or doing something wrong, and it's difficult to change that kind of thought pattern to it isn't about something bad, it is good to believe in the Fae. It's good for the well-being of self to believe in the Fae. So the snake, you know, it can be a problem, but her stars are saying that doesn't matter. You're looking at me. You're not looking at these, the snake and the fox. Yes, those are cards that say, oh, this is not a good thing. But look at me. Look at the stars, because it is a good thing. And the belief, you don't want to change that. You want to change it in other people, like the stork. And also with the stork, I think what that's saying is that other children are coming in, being born, who will naturally believe in the Fae because they have a broader perspective somehow. They're coming in with a broader perspective. So in this case, the birds might be about stress and irritation, and this is how people may view what she is thinking here and make her maybe want to run away. But there is belief here, and it is slow growing belief, but it is growing, and things are changing in that direction. The stork is looking at the tree, and it is possible for it to grow. So that's kind of fun, is when you look at the man card and the woman card and you follow him along to the card above her, that's belief. Here she is looking this way, and the card below him, we're going in the lines that they are in, is the anchor. So she is anchoring, or trying to help anchor his belief in what she is very passionate about, very strong about it. And obviously the heart, you know, this is her destiny. She's made that decision. Of course, she could back out and change her mind, but she's very passionate about it. And that's where she's dropped her anchor. She is very passionate about her belief in the Fae. The child still has the opportunity to make up their mind. She's doing her best to pull the man into the perspective into the same belief, sharing or trying to share that with the man. Now, this could be your families, or it may just be a generic read for man, woman, and child. This is something that you yourself will have to determine how this works for you. I can say for myself, if this reading were specifically for me, this is where I would be. My husband, he believes, he does. And again, he's looking towards the belief card. Only, again, there are some things that are keeping him from fully investing himself in that. That is maybe not where he's meant to be. My children, one of them believes. The other, they know about what I do, but it is not something that we discuss. They really don't have the time for that. So perhaps your family is something like that, and it's not impossible for the man in the family to be the one to believe. So these are interchangeable. It's just in the reading, this is what I'm showing because of the varied responsibilities of man and woman. But again, those can be interchanged. Just because I'm showing a woman here and a man here does not mean that they cannot switch places depending on what their responsibilities are in life. The one nice thing to see is that the belief card and the coffin are not close together, which means the belief is not gone. It has not ended completely. That is kind of a sigh of relief since this is what I do. So if we were to read the corner cards here, which is kind of they're the cornerstones of the reading. So we're looking at balance and harmony with the lily, and just well-being in general. Is all about the learning, like a school of fish. You're in school, you're a school of fish, and not locking yourself into a tower that offers nothing but restrictions and rules, because belief needs freedom, right? If you're going to believe in some kind of what is termed right now an odd subject or controversial subject, you need the freedom to do that. So the bottom line here says, with the clouds, is that yes, sometimes it's difficult to see clearly, and sometimes it's difficult to recognize. What believing in something like Fae or fairies can do in the social aspect of things, and also to your personal security or personal self-esteem. It's not an easy place to be. However, it is getting easier, as we see here, is that they're all showing a possibility of belief, especially the woman. We know that she does, but the belief can be found again for the man or woman if they have changed places for your specific scenario. But this is also, the last line basically is, there can be clouds on the horizon, or you can cover your eyes if you prefer, but the truth of it is going to be illuminated. And because of that, in other words, perhaps a fairy may show for you somehow, and then you're going to have no choice but to share, because you're going to be so excited. So you will share, and you're going to find out that your house is still secure, that your self-esteem is still all intact, totally intact. So there was nothing horrifying about sharing at all. Sharing did not end you at all. So that is where we are concerning the belief in the Fae. I hope you had some fun with this reading and kind of maybe learned something kind of awesome. So until next time, take care.